Welcome to everybody online. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me online?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, tonight we have our first competition of the year. And it's transportation along with our regular open category. And Phil Witt is our judge tonight. Our next meeting coming up, and Becky, if you'd like to jump in. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're going to split it up tonight between Becky and Phil. Phil's going to do transportation and Becky's going to do open, which should be fun. The last competition at another club, they split it up also, and it was interesting to see their different styles in judging. So it should be enjoyable this evening. Our next meeting is on October 21st, and that happens to be another competition because we got messed up with Nick's presentation 2 weeks ago. We had to shift some things around, and that competition will be shadows. And I wanted to take a minute and talk about the shadows. The shadow must be your dominant subject. And shadows are a solid or a semi-solid dark area produced by an object coming between a light source and a surface. For instance, a shadow from a tree. Reflections are not shadows. Please refrain from putting reflections into the competition because they're just going to get DQ'd. And once again, you can get creative with the shadows. A couple of years ago when we had shadows, I had my great niece make animals on the wall, and I did those shadows, which was a lot of fun. So you can really have some fun and get creative. The last thing before we start the competition. Sure.
So it's definitely light. So in other words, a impression left by a leaf on the ground that may look like a shadow is not permissible, correct?
If you have the leaf and it casts a shadow, that's good. But not if you have the resin from the leaf on the, yeah, that's not a shadow.
Okay. That's fine.
That's properties left by the leaf.
Okay, that's fine.
Semi-transparent, so you can have light shining through an object.
Sure.
And what about silhouettes?
No.
It's not exactly a shadow. And why do we? Okay. I would say try to not do a silhouette because that's something that's going to be up to the judge. Whether the judge thinks it's an acceptable as a shadow or whether the judge DQs it. So to be on the safe side, I would refrain from doing that. One of my favorite examples of shadows is an abstract that's done with the slats on a porch and the sun coming through, and then the slats, and you have the shadow on the base of the porch from those slats. And that's a pretty famous photograph. So something like that you can try. An abstract with shadows is perfectly acceptable. Just try to keep it as a shadow. And if you have a question about whether to enter an image or not, feel free to email me and send me a copy of the image. And I'll be happy to tell you, if it works or not. One of our club members who's online tonight, she's in the past sent me images with questions, and it's all part of the learning process. So I'm happy to help anybody that has a question.
I guess I don't understand what a silhouette is. So, explain what a silhouette is.
You know, I'll try that.
Okay.
Picture an object with light behind it,
Yeah.
but the object is all dark.
Oh,
Because
so,
there's no light shining on the front of the object. to
so
light it up.
it's kind of like when they do those, you see what people.
Oh, yes, that was a silhouette too. They used to do that with the fire behind them and then their face and then a sheep. And they would trace the silhouette onto it.
All right.
That's a great explanation. Thank you. Okay, if, oh, the one other thing, I'm trying to figure out, if we can get in a fall meetup. Weather isn't cooperating, trees aren't cooperating. So I'm gonna see if we can work something out, and I'll let everybody know. And with that, I guess, we'll get started with the competition. If everybody online could mute themselves, we'll get started.
Higher dose threat provides better protection than standard dose shots in older adults. It's even been shown to better protect against related complications. Don't be so.
Oh. Let's try that again. Assigned B, transportation. The last ride.
Okay, it certainly, I just read the inscription. It certainly fits the theme. It's an interesting shot. Probably not. It's an interesting shot. Yeah, I need something. It certainly fits the theme. I think that the truck itself or the hearse is well captured. I do think that there are a fair number of distractions around it. Looks like a tower from a bridge. I think what I might have done is at least darkened, taken a bit of a vignette and darken the area around it to focus the eye more on the truck itself. I'll see it again. It's certainly technically well done, 7.
New Haven, Connecticut River Ride.
Well, I like the way the locomotive is traversing diagonally through the frame. I like the smoke coming up or the steam, whatever it is. The sky really doesn't hold much interest. I might have cropped it down just a little bit. But I think for B, that the maker saw something interesting and gave some thought to the angle, maybe a little more room in front. The locomotive is almost butting up against the end. 7, I'll see it again.
Collection Riders.
I think this is a terrific kind of photojournalism capture. You're really capturing great action. It's transporting them, it's transporting garbage. They're looking at the camera, they're giving you the thumbs up. Technically, again, there are a lot of distractions in this picture. The edge of the building, right at the left edge of the frame, you want to look around the borders of your picture, do a border patrol and get rid of anything that shouldn't be there. In addition, the sky holds no interest at all, and it's fairly bright, kind of a dull, bright gray. I would have darkened that and gotten rid of that edge. I'm going to, this is tough. I think there's some technical problems with it. I love the story in it, but I just think it could have been processed with a little more thought and perhaps even captured with a little more thought. 6.
Wheel.
I like this one a lot. It's creative. It's a different approach. It's, it's unique. It's a unique way of looking at transportation, just looking at one cog in the transportation system. And it's an interesting set of geometry, the circle, the triangle, the kind of other triangle of the chain going down. I think the black and white gives it a nice emphasis. 7.
Full rack.
Again, a creative view. Somebody really gave some thought as to how they want to frame this. There's some minor technical issues. The pedal in the front and the city back in the front, they're both out of focus, and you want things in the foreground generally to be sharp. But other than that, I think it's quite nicely done, and you have a wonderful leading line taking my eye into and to the back of the picture, transporting my eye, so to speak. 7.
Waiting.
It's a nice portrait of the horses, but it's somewhat static. I mean, the horses are standing there. Maybe if they'd been walking a little bit, it would be more interesting. Technically, it's pretty well captured. The whites and the horses look good. Again, I'm going to be consistent. One of the brightest areas is the building in the upper left-hand corner. In post-processing, tone that down a little bit. You want my eye on the horses, not on the buildings in the back. 6.
Jersey towing.
Another interesting detail. I think I like this, and I'm going to see it again. I do think it might have been strengthened if it were cropped down a little bit. Those little slivers of something else at the top, I find a bit distracting. And I think it would just be a stronger picture if it were cropped down to eliminate that. But I'll see it again. 7.
Fishing trawler.
Nice portrait. I think that the boat is well captured. It looks like nothing is blown out on it. I think the reflection adds a little bit to this image. I might have given it a little more room in front. Normally you want, especially if the theme is transportation, you want a little more room in front than behind. Again, to be consistent, I might have toned down the trees just a little bit so that my eye remained more on the boat. 7.
Transportation old and new.
That's a nice contrast. The maker in this case did leave a little more room in front of the planes than behind, so for them to fly into. I don't know that you need quite as much room on top. They're placed almost exactly in the middle, certainly the larger plane, whatever it is, an F-22. I might have cropped it down a bit. The sky in this case is very bright, but I think that's okay in this particular case because the planes stand out from the sky nicely. 7.
Express bus.
I like this one. I mean, it really does show motion. It's a nice use of a slow shutter speed. I have a little problem with the upper right-hand corner. You know, you just have half the traffic lights and that little sliver of white. There's no reason why you needed that. To crop down below the traffic lights, I think would have strengthened the picture. But that's a small point. I don't want to give it too much weight. 7.
Waiting to leave.
Very nice. I think it's a really attractive capture, nice reflection that adds some interest to the picture. And in this particular case, you can see that everything else is darker than the boat, which is just kind of spotlit, a little bit of Rembrandt lighting on the boat, and it stands out nicely, as does the reflection. Very nice image. 7.
Giddy up.
Well, I like the motion in the horse. I like the room that's left in front of it to ride into. This looks like, it's very disappointing. This looks like a home game, but the stands are practically empty. Very disappointing. But it's a nice image, a little bit of vignette to draw my eye to the Scarlet Knight. I'll give this a 7.
Zipping along.
Now, this is interesting. This is the opposite effect of the last image, the one with the motion in the bus. And this one, you're panning with the car or with the SUV. I think it works nicely. I would have brightened up the car, darkened the sky, cropped some of the bottom. You just have more in this than you really need. I really think this needs to be post-processed better. And I'm not sure about whatever that looks like a slide and some outdoor gym equipment there. I would either have cropped that out and just had the car in, or at least toned it down. I'm giving this a 6.
Bad grade.
Oh, this is interesting. This requires a little thought. I mean, I know you have that old truck in there, but this is actually a nice juxtaposition of the old gas sign and the old truck. The 54 really pops out. I think it's quite nicely done, both visually and conceptually. 7.
Steam engine.
I like the way the engine is approaching the camera on a diagonal. I think the sky is pretty well done. It does hold some interest with a little bit of cloud detail. It looks, the locomotive and the water tower both look like they're tilted to the right a little bit. And it just doesn't look quite level to me. I'll see it again, but I'm a little troubled by that. 7.
Transportation with an attitude.
Well, this is a tough shot with wings this long. What do you do? Where do you crop it? And I'm not sure that this crop works. I think you need to either crop it in more so that it's clear that it was your intent to crop it, or really struggle to, back up a little bit, shoot it a little wider to get the whole wing, both wing tips in. The way it's done now, especially on the right-hand side, it looks like an accident. It looks like, well, you just couldn't quite get it in. And you want it to look like it's an intentional crop, which is either why you have to get it all in or crop it in so much that the judge says, well, the maker really knew what they were doing here and really cropped it like they thought would work. But as it's shot now, it looks accidental. I'm giving it a 6.
Worksite wheelie.
Yeah, that is kind of a wow shot, isn't it? I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that thing when it's doing a wheelie like that. It's certainly an intriguing shot. I wish you could have gotten around, the maker could have gotten around a little more to the left so I could see the operator better. You know, right now you're really shooting him from behind. So I think a better angle on this one really would have helped a lot. Plus the usual critique, which is toning down the sky a bit. It's interesting. I think there's some real flaws in it, but it has impact. So I'm going to give it a 7 for now and see it again.
Riverboat.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm looking at here. I guess that's a reflection. I'm not sure. Am I looking through a window? I don't think I'm looking through a window. It must be a reflection. Either that, I hope this is not a picture of somebody else's artwork. Helen, I think I'm looking at a picture of somebody else's artwork.
I honestly, I can't tell.
Well, I don't, I mean, it looks like it's shot in winter time.
So you don't see the trees, it's like looking through a window.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, you're looking at, looks like the Taj Mahal.
The trees just end.
Yeah, it's got,
If it was a window, the trees would.
right. If it was a window, you'd see the trees, but it couldn't be a window. I mean, this is India with trees with leaves on in the distance, shot in wintertime. I'm going to disqualify it. And whoever the maker is, if I've made a mistake, I apologize. You know, as a judge, I have to call it like I see it. It looks like just a photograph of someone else's artwork.
No wind.
Well, you know, it's an interesting juxtaposition of the two boats and the tower of the bridge, whatever bridge, I don't know, New York, but Brooklyn Bridge maybe, but in any event, whatever bridge it is. I don't know that you need that much water. You know, as you probably get by now, my philosophy of photography is if something doesn't add to the narrative, to the story of the picture, get rid of it. And you know, I don't know that all that water in the foreground really adds to the image. And I'm also not entirely clear what the subject is. Is it the boat in the front? Is it the bridge? And you don't want to confuse the viewer, especially a judge, about what the subject is. 6.
Bike in the city.
Well, you know, it's a shot of a bike, but I don't know that it has any, you know, when I look at images, I look for 3 things: impact, composition, and technique. This is a technically well done record shot of a bike, but to me, it's lacking in impact. Composition, you know, you're looking down at the bike a little bit. The maker cut off the edge of the tire, so the composition isn't particularly great either. For those reasons, I'm giving it a 6.
El Camino on a flatbed.
I think the pano crop works here. I might have given it a little more room to breathe, but you know, it's a horizontal composition in a very horizontal crop, technically well captured. And it's an, you know I just criticized something for being essentially a record shot, but in this case, the subject itself is an interesting one, an intriguing one. And technically it's well done. 7.
Okay, 14.
I think the strength of the subject carries this one. 8. 9. 9. 8. 8. 8. 8. 9. 8. 9. 8. 7. 8. Yeah, that's correct. Did I do that right? I think you did. Something's,
Equal merit. No,
no,
I
something's
screwed up-
wrong.
Something screwed up on it. Should be there.
No,
Ah, damn it. I screwed that up.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm having a brain freeze tonight. I apologize for that. I am not sure how I'm going to fix this right now.
We may have to skip this one for now.
Should we just go through the photos that?
Yeah.
Hey, folks, sorry about that.
This was NHM.
This is honorable mention, Bill Doherty.
This
Ed.
was an equal merit.
Stop, change them. Rescore them,
Okay,
because otherwise I'm not gonna be able to put them up on the website.
okay.
Fix square.
Sorry about that, Phil.
That's an 8.
8. Oh, wait a minute. It's not let me. Oh, God.
Backspace it.
Ah, thank you, Ellen. 8.
That's an 8. That's a 9. That's a 9. That's an that's an 8. That's an 8. That's an 8. That's an 8. That's a 9. That's an 8. That's a 9. That's 8. That's, give this an 8 or a 9. I'll give it a 9.
Okay, let's try this again.
Yeah, that looks right. 4 and 9.
Yeah. I will mention. Okay,
Equal merit.
equal merit. I must have hit equal merit twice. That's what screwed it up.
Yeah, you did, that's.
Thank you.
I was using that.
Sign B, transportation. Honorable mention, Bill Doherty, Express Bus. Bad grade, Ty Gomes, equal.
Oh, you didn't do it in reverse score order.
Damn it today. What is going on with me today?
No, over, just make sure it says, you have it by photographer. put it by reverse score order.
Oh, wait a minute.
Right there,
That's it.
that's it.
Sorry about that. I still have it from
Up, up, up.
the reverse score order. Okay. Oh, yeah, today. Sign B, transportation, honorable mention. Let's try it again. Last ride, Francine Silver. New Haven, Connecticut River Ride, Edward Schulman. Jersey Towing, Kai Gomes. Fishing Trawler, Francine Silver. Transportation, Old and New, Edward Schulman. Express Bus, Bill Doherty. Giddy Up, Bill Hanson. Steam Engine, Francine Silver. El Camino on a Flatbed, Kai Gomes. Equal Merit, Wayne Quinto, Wheel. Full Rack, Bill Hanson. Waiting to Leave, Wayne Quinto. Bad Grade, Kai Gomes.
Very nice.
Okay, very nice. Am I saying the name right? Okay, because I know they pronounce it two different ways sometimes. Okay. Signed A, transportation. Lowell Ferry to Iona.
Okay, I think that I like the way the cars are coming off the ferry and approaching the camera on a little bit of a diagonal, especially the first one. I don't know that you need as much in the picture. I mean, your subject is really no more than 20% of the picture. I really think, and I do think the sailboats on the left-hand side are unnecessary. I think your story is really with the ferry and the cars coming off it. So I would have cropped this one in significantly. I think with a little different post-processing, this would do well, but tonight I'm giving it a 6.
Heavy Chevy.
You know, the truck itself, I think, is well captured. I think you have an interesting view. It looks like a fairly wide angle lens. You're getting a little bit of that wide angle curvature in it, which I think is interesting in this particular shot. It's framed nicely. The background is darkened. You know, the gazebo on the upper right-hand side is a little bit distracting. I might have, tried to get rid of that in post-processing. But I'll certainly see it again, 7.
Graffiti.
You know, it's an interesting subject. I think the graffiti adds to it. I think that I like the angle, the diagonal that it's placed on. I do think that the colors, not so much in the graffiti, but in the greenery and in the sky, are way oversaturated. It looks like especially the greenery is losing definition because of the heavy saturation. And it's also, for me at least, somewhat distracting. I would have toned that down 6.
Prudis Pusher Bottle D. Versus B. Curtis.
Yeah, this is an interesting picture. I think it's nicely done. Technically not an easy picture to do. You're panning with this crazy airplane. And, you've got it perfectly perpendicular to the camera plane. You left a little more room in front of it. And I think it's a good pan, tack sharp in the plane itself. The only suggestion I have, and I'm not going to mark off for this, is I don't know that you need that line of ground at the bottom. I think it might have been a little stronger without it, but certainly a very good shot, 7.
The only mode of transportation in the outer hybrids, bridge.
I like this shot a lot. I am wondering about 2 things. I do wish I had a little more room below the boat since it's pointing in that direction. It looks like it's just about ready to float out of the frame as it's done here. And I don't know that you need all of those boats on the left-hand side. So I think this might have worked better as a vertical with a little more room below it. But technically very well done. It's a pleasing shot, 7.
In the thick of it.
Looks like another wide angle shot. Little bit of looks like wide angle distortion. I think technically it's well done. It's intriguing. It draws my eye into the image. I might have tried to capture the bottom of the bumper. You know, these little details are the kind of things that bother judges. You know, cropping off something that doesn't need to be cropped off. It's like cutting off somebody's feet in a picture. But, you know, that's a small point. I don't want to give it too much weight. Overall, it's nicely done and a pleasing image. 7.
Tour de France.
Technically, it's well done. I think the image is well captured. Nothing is cut off that shouldn't be or that shouldn't be cut off. I do think in the upper right-hand corner, I would have gotten rid of that one bright spot because you don't want my eye drawn up to the upper right-hand corner. And, you know, you are shooting from a little bit behind the cyclist. Her face looks a little bit in front of the camera. It's close. You're almost shooting directly perpendicular, but not quite. 7.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Well, you know, I like the idea of just capturing one detail instead of worrying about capturing an entire object, in this case, a truck. Again, I do find the upper right-hand corner of this one a little bit distracting as well. You know, if you were cropping it that far, why not crop it just half an inch further so you don't have that little strip of white and black drawing my eye away from the wheel, which is where you want me to be looking. And as far as impact, you know, impact. Speaking of impact.
Big time.
Impact, of course, is subjective, but to me, this isn't that interesting a subject. So for all those reasons, 6.
C5M Super Galaxy Transport.
Well, you know, it's mildly interesting. You know, it doesn't have smoke coming out of the engines. There's not putting out contrails. I know it's in flight, but it sounds like a contradiction, but it's kind of a static flight shot. Technically well done. I can't complain about it, but somewhat lacking in impact for me. I'll see it again, but I have some reservations about it. 7.
Traveling around Scotland by ferry.
Well, the ferry is well captured. You know, the whites are maintained. It certainly gives you a sense of place. You know, I mean, of course, being the Caledonian McBrain helps give it a sense of place. But the mountains behind it, the Scottish Highlands or the Outer Hebrides, one or the other. You know, it's not a real dramatic shot. There is some sense of motion. I'll see it again, 7.
1954.
We've seen this guy. We've seen it already.
No, it's a different shot.
Is it really?
Yeah, the sign is less sign.
Oh, wow. Okay, must have had a trip to a car graveyard. It's a nice shot, you know, I mean, my feelings about the last shot were that it was good. This one is equally good. I might have left just a little more room on the right-hand side, you know, the 54 is right up against the edge. But again, a very small point. I'm not going to take off for that. 7.
New Haven Railroad.
I like the way the train is approaching diagonally. You know, it gives a sense of drama to it. I'm not even sure that it's moving, but even if it's not, it looks like it's approaching the camera. I don't know that you need quite as much sky. It's a very horizontal composition. I might have done a little more of a horizontal crop, but it's technically well done. 7.
Where's the fire?
Well, this one has some drama to it, you know, with the fire engine approaching directly toward the camera with the road kind of must be a slope, yeah, slope going up, and the Cranford fire engine is also coming up this end of the slope. So that gives it some drama. It's an interesting shot. I like it. I might have given it a little more room on each side. It's very, very tight. 7.
New York State Police helicopter.
You know, it's well captured. I like the motion, you know, in the spinning rotors. These flight shots, though, you know, they're tough. When they're just against the sky, you lose a sense of context. And I might have liked a little more room in front of it, but I'll see it again. 7.
All right.
Okay.
11 to score.
8. 9. 8. You know, I know that I brought up that little tip of the bumper cut off, but I don't want to be the kind of judge that just focuses on trivia, so I'm giving this a 9.
9.
9. 7. 8. 8. 9. 8. If it had a little more room on the sides, I'd give it a 9. 8. 8.
Signed A, Transportation, honorable mention, Heavy Chevy, Fernando Gomes. The only mode of transportation in the outer hybrids, Wendy Milligan. C5M Super Galaxy Transport, Al Figuccio. Traveling around Scotland by ferry, Wendy Milligan. New Haven Railroad, Wendy Capelitz. Where's the Fire, Jim Chelan. New York State Police helicopter, Al Figuccio. Equal Merit. Curtis Pusher Model D, Al Figuccio. In the Thick of It, Fernando Gomes. 1954, Fernando Gomes.
Very nice.
Very nice. sign salon, transportation. Funeral wagon.
Well, this is an interesting shot, and I think that the kind of black and white antique processing adds to the impact of it. It's evocative. It makes you think of times gone by, both in the subject and in the complementary processing. 7.
Rolling Thunder veterans.
Nice shot. I like the way they're all kind of coming around the curve and approaching the camera. This is a salon class, and that really bright spot of sky to the upper right, as a salon shooter and post processor, that's the kind of thing you should be aware of and take care of. I'm certainly going to see it again. 7.
Going fishing.
Well, they say if you want more interesting pictures, take shots of more interesting subjects. And this is certainly an interesting subject. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know that there's much drama in the picture. It's not actually moving, but it's a record shot, and in that sense, it's static. It's got a few distractions, the sky above it, the building that's bright to the left of it, but it's interesting. I'll see it again. 7.
Warp speed.
I don't have the faintest idea how this was taken, but it certainly has drama and impact, and the composition is good. I mean, I have nothing negative to say about it. I'm slipping here. I'm giving it a 7.
Deuce and a half.
It's an interesting subject. I just don't, and technically I can't complain about it. The sky is well handled. I can't complain about distractions. I just don't know, though, that it's much more than a record shot. And in a competition, I think you're limiting how high you can go, especially in salon class. I'll see it again. 7.
Once in a blue moon.
Well, this was taken on some planet with a triple moon. So somebody's been doing some traveling. Again, it's a very interesting combination of images. I mean, I'm assuming it's a combination of a couple images, but it's technically well done. It's, they say that impact is a picture that makes you want to look at it, and I think this fits that definition. Very creative. 7.
Going up.
Well, I think it fits the theme. I think it really draws my eye in. It's got a leading line that's taking me up to this human figure. They say you should never shoot people from the back, but that's a rule that I think sometimes can be broken. And I think in this case, it works well. 7.
Night flight.
I mean, another really creative image. It might be a composite of 2 images. It might be a really lucky and persistent shot with a really long lens. I don't know which, I can't tell, but it's a nice shot. 7. Well captured.
Foot ornament.
It's an interesting subject. I think especially because the tire is in the picture, it fits the theme well. You can tell that it's part of a transportation structure, vehicle. Technically well done, creative, whimsical. 7.
Early morning transit.
Again, the people are shot from the back, but uh-oh.
Bump the table. I did it. There we go.
But I think it fits the theme, you know, these people are all leaving on a train, and as a result, seeing them from the back, it's acceptable in this case. The one, and I think it's creative. It's a well done composition. The one criticism I have is whatever that is behind the pillar is very bright. And it's just, you know, you don't want something other than the people, I think, in this case, to be bright. But that garbage can or whatever it is, I can't quite tell, is just a little too bright. It's a small thing, but, you know, that can be the difference between an 8 or a 9. 7.
Hop in, buddy.
It's got 2 flat tires. Well, I guess that's because of the weight of the rock. It's certainly an interesting subject. The one criticism I have is the area behind it is very distracting for me. I mean, it looks like those towers are rising right up out of this rock. I'm giving it a 6. Nine. I'm not going to take off for that little spot in the upper right, even though it is salon. 9. 7. 9. 7. 9. 9. 9. 9. 8.
Honorable mentions. Early morning transit, Charlene Federowitz. Equal merit. Funeral wearing, Ellen Stein. Rolling Thunder Veterans, Charlene Federowitz. Warp Speed, Arlene Sorpenzetti. Once in a Blue Moon, Charlene Federowitz. Going Up, Lenny McDonald. Night Flight, Arlene Sorpenzetti. Foot Ornament, Ellen Stein. Okay,
I think Becky just went to the bathroom, so you may need to take a break for a minute.
all right. We'll be starting soon first. Open.
Did you hear me?
Yes.
For those at home, we will start as soon as our judge returns.
Okay, I'm home.
You're up.
All righty.
All right, yeah, open B. Old Diner Blues.
Okay, for me, this is an image that has impact. I like the line of the stools going down. I like the characters balancing everything on the left with the counter on the right. And technically, it looks well handled. 7.
Swallowtail and Persian Silk.
Okay, this is an image where I like the swallowtail. I like the Persian silk. I think the whites are a little bright in the Persian silk. And I think we have a little too much in this image. There's a lot of distraction. And I think if you cropped it quite a bit, you would get rid of a lot of the distracting background, the solid branch in the lower left corner, the bit of the red flower coming in from the top. So do your border control, but also by cropping it, not only do you get rid of the distractions, but you also make your subject more prominent. 6.
Bee on a flower.
Okay, and you even got the bee looking our way. Very nice. You kept all the detail in the yellows. At least I can see the detail in the yellows, which is good because often they get blown out. There's something below the petals, a little smudgy mark. I don't know what that is. I don't know if something was taken out or if that just was in the background. But since this isn't just nature, you know, this could be a background that had that. So I'm going to ignore that for now. Okay. The other thing I would do, and this I think is a little minor, particularly in the B class, is the green leaves in the back have a lot of shine on them. So you might want to try taking down the whites, or you might want to bring down their exposure selectively. But I'd like to see it again. 7.
Pews.
Very geometric. And I like the progression. I don't know, you know, that also may be the angle of that the photographer used, because that makes a really nice story in its own. It's a story of geometry here, leading us from one end to the other. And, you know, there's a lot of whites and grays in here, and I think you handle the whites pretty much. There's nothing that needed to have particular detail. You know, there's no feather detail or flower detail or anything like that. So this works well that way. 7.
Classic dash.
Okay, I like that you chose to shoot just the dash, because that can be really interesting, an intimate part of some object. But the background is really bright and distracting, and my eye keeps going to those bright spots in the back. And I guess, I don't know, I think I might have tried a different angle or something like that, or it might just be the time of day. This is just a really bright day. So I like the choice of subject. I think the capture could have been improved and possibly some of the post-processing. 6.
Beware.
Okay. All right. Okay, we got our falcon in a dive. I think the falcon's sharp. I say that because I don't know if my eyesight's that good anymore. Anyway, I do like the muted background, whether it was put in there, whether it was naturally there, could be, or whether it was put in there artificially. Either way, if it was done artificially, it's well done, because you don't see any of the, I don't see any of the like edging and stuff like that. Nice capture, nice position in the frame, and a nice position for the peregrine. 7. You guys are
Fascinated by the waves.
You're making it really hard here. This is okay. Okay, here we are. We're looking at the waves. So that's okay. That's the story. I think there's an issue with this image, and well, part of it is I think we could crop some of it from the left. You know, we have the person, the man looking out towards the waves. And I think that would have been a stronger image to crop off some of the stuff on the left. But also we have an exposure issue going on here. The white surf is really, really blown out. And it might be a time of day issue again. This might have been something that take a little early, much earlier in the day or much later in the day. 6.
The joy of jazz.
Oh, good expression on the face. Okay, so this is a tough one for me because I like the expression on the man's face. I like that you included his hands in the guitar. The whites, though, of the backdrop, the Newport backdrop, particularly on the lower left-hand side, are very bright. And I might have seen if I could have, you know, you might have been able to crop out the really, really bright part on the lower left. Okay, but that is distracting. I'll see it again. 7.
Great blue takeoff.
Okay, this is one for me where the whites in the bird are a bit blown out, but I do like the takeoff. I do like that you got the wings up. It is starting to go a little bit away from me. But I also feel that the bird's face and bill, which are generally the most important part of an animal or person, look soft to me. 6.
Cabo de Hornos.
Okay, I'm looking at this image because I like the leading line, but it just seems like then the building is so far in the distance, though that gets really small. So proportionally for me, I'm having a problem with that. It just seems so far away and I'm not sure what's the importance here. Is it the walkway going up? Is it the building or the tower in the back? And I'm starting to feel like I almost have 2 pictures because there's a nice gap between the line going up the steps all the way up the hill to the tower, I guess an antenna, and then we have a break, and then we have the building on the right. So continuity of this image, the composition just isn't holding together for me. 6.
Dancing by the bridge.
Okay. Well, I like the pose of the woman. I'm not sure I like her merging with the building in the back. I think I'd like her, to be separated from the building. The building could still be back there. We're losing detail in the building. It's a little bright back there. And I'm losing some details in the whites of her dress. So I'm struggling with the composition as well as the exposure, I think. 6.
Entrance.
Okay. Well, the black and white treatment here and the post-processing emphasizes the structure and the grittiness of the picture in general. The vine crawling up the side, the old wooden door, and the vine actually on both sides. It's coming across a little bright, particularly on the door itself, where I was wondering if he had toned that down a little bit, brought the exposure down on that just a little bit, if you would have got more grain in the door. But it's still very interesting and it still holds together. 7. I'd like to see it again.
Waiting for the right wave.
Okay. In some ways, I wish I could see their faces. Their faces are almost silhouettes. Their boards are not, but they are. And I wonder if that was a post-processing choice on the part of the photographer. It's just interesting. So I would like to have seen more of their faces. And I don't think we need the big rock right in the front. Six.
Empty sky at sunrise.
Okay. You have nice leading lines leading me through the monument, to the monument in the distance and to the buildings in the distance. And I think that's a nice way to view this. I like the light. I know you've got a very bright reflection of the sun, but I'm going to take that as part of the image here. We got the sun there with with all the rays coming off it, the sunburst. It is a little hot though, both the sun and the reflection. Huh. Okay, I was wondering if there's a little better treatment of that. Sometimes when I get a sun that's pretty much blown out, because that's all I'm going to get because I'm really shooting the sun, I like to actually fill it in with some of the colors of things that have texture and structure nearby. And I fill that in a little bit so it's not just a white blob. But this is a really interesting and well composed image. I'd like to see it again. 7.
Red-bellied woodpecker.
Okay, you got a nice sharp image of the red belly's face, but you got a lot of distraction here. So this is one where the distracting branches in front of him are really taking away from the bird itself. This might be one where if you had the pixels, and you probably do, because this is a really nice sharp image of his face, this might be one where you want to crop it down and just use a head shot or head and shoulders. And that would get rid of a lot of the other branches, possibly. Just a thought. But as it is 6.
Williamsburg.
Good eye contact with your subject. And this is a tough one because of the light coming in through the window. But I think you held it pretty well, particularly for a B class. That's a tough thing to keep that exposure so that you don't blow everything out. I think I might have removed the little green leaves on the left-hand side, just because I don't know that they add to it, and they are pretty bright. And in some ways, I might have actually, I might have put it in post-processing. I might have added a graduated filter coming in from the left and actually toning that down a little bit so that I'd actually have more light on his face. So I like the image that I can see his face. I like the composition generally, but I'd like to have a little bit of balance in the lighting. But I'd like to see it again. 7.
Hands.
And that it is, hands. I have no idea what they're all up to, but okay, there are hands. Okay, now the only thing I'm going to wish, and you've heard this from Phil and you're hearing it from me, is the white background on the left side. That's really distracting. And of course, the white in the like the blouse or the shirt and the figure coming second from the right. Those two are a little bit bright. If I could tone those down, I would. But I like the idea. I like what you saw. But 6.
Fishing in the jetty.
Okay, this is fishing in the jetty. I get that, and that's fine. And it's actually got a nice feel. But I think this image has a little too much in it. To me, the image is the 2 men, or maybe it's a man and a boy, with their backs to each other fishing on the jetty. I don't know that I need the tower there for the lights and stuff like that. I think that's a little too much for me because you still have jetty going out farther to the right. And I might have cropped it a little. If I would probably crop it significantly. Crop out the tower, the scaffolding to the left, crop it from the top. There's not a lot of interest in that sky, but the reason you kept it in was because of the scaffolding, and maybe you can crop a little bit from the bottom. But for me, that would make my 2 images of the 2 people fishing, because the third person fishing, I can't see, he's behind the scaffolding, or she, would make them more prominent in the image. 6.
Okay. Keep the score.
Okay. I like this one. It tickles my fancy. It has impact. 9. Good capture. 9. Another 9. Oh, a 9. Okay. An 8. An 8. An 8. And another 8.
Okay. Okay, open B, honorable mention, The Joy of Jazz, Bill Doherty. Entrance, Wayne Quinto. Empty Sky at Sunrise, Bill Doherty. Williamsburg, Margot Partridge. Equal Merit. Old Diner Blues, Kai Gomes. Be on a Flower, Edward Schulman. Cubes, Margot Partridge. Beware, Wayne Quinto. Okay,
Can you hear me back there?
Yeah.
You can? Okay, thank you.
Open A. Icon of Scotland.
Oh, a Highland crew. I like the position from which you took this. I like that you were low, even below eye level on this guy, and really looking up into him, or her. I never can tell these guys. Anyway, and I like the environment around it. And I'm glad you didn't get too much more sky in it, because first of all, you kept your animal the primary part of your image. 7.
Here's looking at you.
Oh, I like the nice detail in this guy. Just a suggestion, in the future, you might want to put a very fine white stroke around it, just because it's hard to see where the image ends at the top. But I can see that at least that the antennae are in the image and they are not cut off. At least that's what I believe I see. Okay. I like the sharpness of the praying mantis. And I like that, they're pretty big and long. And I think you took the important part and you cropped it for that important part, the face, the antenna, and some of the legs there. I might have even toned down some of the white foliage in the background a little bit. And certainly along the left-hand edge, I'd watch out for those little encroachments. There's a little bit of streak at the upper left-hand corner. There's a little bit of, out of focus light color coming in from the left-hand side. I would have just cloned those out, or, content aware filled them out. But it's a good image and it's striking. And I'd also be careful to highlight the hot spot on the back of the praying mantis right by the edge of the right side. But still, it's still a striking image. 7.
Bird on a branch.
No, he's not looking at me, but a very nice and a lot of good detail in the feathering. And I like that. I might have cleaned up some of the parts of the branch underneath, but that's me. And I might have given a little more room to the left, since your bird is looking towards the left. But those, I think, are pretty, a bit nitpicking, because this is a nice capture and it's got a lot of detail in it. 7.
Late afternoon glow. Sorry.
Oh, go back. See if we can get late afternoon
How do
glow.
I go back? Do I know how to go back?
I don't know how to go back.
There we go.
I was gonna say, if not, there's gonna be one not scored and we can go do that. Okay. I like the position of the flower in the frame, the diagonal position. This has a nice sensuality to it. And that's because of the softness all around, except for the center of the flower, which I can see nice detail in it. I might have taken a little bit off from the top, but I mean, right now it really is very much the center diagonal, but that's a matter of preference. That's a nit. So it's a lovely capture. It has impact. 7.
A birthday wish to departed husband and father.
Well, I tell you, with the title, it really is moving, particularly with them all interlocking with their arms around each other. Again, this is one where we take the back of the people, and maybe that's appropriate here because we don't want to encroach too much on their grief. It's a nice composition. Without the title, though, I don't know that this would be as moving and as impactful picture. Although it is loving the way the arms are around. I'll see it again. I don't see, the brights, the darks are pretty well held. We don't have detail in the center boys, the little boy in the middle's pants, but that's neither here nor there, because we got nice detail in the background. 7.
The cockle of my heart.
Oh, very nice. I like the lighting on this, whether it was done in capture, in post-processing, or both, because you've really created now a spotlight on that shell. And I like it in showing it in its own location, in its milieu with all the other, I guess there are seaweeds around it. I might have not placed it quite so centrally myself, but it still works. 7.
Night heron.
I like the sharpness of this night heron, the eye, the beak, all the feather detail. I feel like though, and Phil talked about this, about cropping, not clipping, and I feel like we've clipped off his legs because we didn't really crop, and that might be what I would do. Because I also find, I guess it's water at the bottom, I'm not sure. That's sort of a bit distracting. So if you'd cut them, just to cut them off just a little higher up, cut up a little more from the bottom, and we got rid of that too, because that's got a lot of detail and it sort of takes my eye away from the bird. I'll give it a 7 because I like to see it again.
9/11 lights.
Nice capture of the city lights. Everything's nice and even. We're not tilting one way or the other. And I like the lights showing up. This is one where I'm never quite sure if we need quite so much of the vertical, but I realize you do that because you want to show the beams. But sometimes I feel like you start to lose the impact of the city because now the city is less than half of the image. But that's the the decision of the makers. Some of the lights along the bottom are blown out a little bit, so I'd watch that, but I'd like to see it again. 7.
Light mist watch-ons.
Well, this has a different mood because all the tonalities are just about the same. I'm wondering if this really did need a little bit more of a curves or level or something like that to give it a little bit more contrast. But this may have been the way the photographer wanted to view it or show it, sort of as more, I don't know what you would call that, but more same tone. And there's a lot of in this image. I'll give it a 7, but I just feel I'd like to have more of a central point of view in it. But I'd like to see it again.
Street scene.
That is a street scene. I like the perspective. I like the curvature taking me down the street. And I'm glad that you minimized the light colored sky, the bright, no clouds or anything in the sky. I feel like the reds though may be oversaturated in this picture. I really don't see detail in the hanging things, particularly in the reds. So watch your red channels, but that may have been an artistic decision, but it just doesn't hold it for me. 6.
The pink urchin of Oban.
Okay. Nice detail in the urchin, really nice. And again, I like the seaweed in the water there with it. And this one, I like the positioning. 7.
Steep diving.
Oh, nice capture. This is tough to do. And you got wonderful detail in the bird's feathers. And I see detail in all the whites except under the chin where there's a little bit of a shadow, but I'm going to let that pass because every other white on that bird has detail in it. I like seeing the feet and I like the composition. 7.
Nature reclaiming.
Okay. And it is reclaiming this. Yes, I like the rust on the car. I like that the sky it was minimized and you might have darkened it down a little bit or vignetted it. And that's nice because as we know that kind of bright white would take our eye away from the image. So that's well done here. And you know what? I like that we're looking at it eye level to eye level, headlights to eyes. That's a good, powerful way of showing it. 7.
Sunset.
Okay. Bless you. Okay. I think in this image, I realize this is sunset, but I think we could take, there's not much in the sky above the clouds. So I would have probably cropped this from the top and made it a little bit more of a panel. It won't be exactly a panel, but you could take also a little bit off from the bottom, the water. I do like the clouds. I do think the white spots in the sky probably could be painted in a little bit, not to be quite so, just blown out white. And there is no detail in the tree area. And I guess I'd like to see a little detail in that. I mean, it's now just silhouette. Okay. I'll take another look because for me, if you had cropped it from the top and you kept it this way, then I'd have a very much geometrical pattern because I'd have the pattern of the water. The black centerpiece would be another pattern and then the sky above. So 7, I'll look at it again. Okay, let me go through those 7s. What am I doing? Better move it. 9. 8. 8. 9. 7. 9. 8. 8. 7. 9. 9. 8. 7.
Open A, honorable mention. Here's looking at you, Al Figuccio. Bird on the branch, Jim Chelan. Night Heron, Al Figuccio. 9/11 Lights, Jim Chelan. Nature's Reclaiming, Fernando Gomes. Equal Merit, Icon of Scotland, Wendy Milligan. Late Afternoon Glow, Fernando Gomes. The Cockle of My Heart, Wendy Milligan. Pink Urchin of Oban, Wendy Milligan. Steep Diving, Al Figuccio. Okay. Finally, Open Salon.
13. Okay.
Yes. Open Salon. Dahlia in pink.
I like the dahlia a lot, and I might have even gotten in closer, or brought it in more. But I do like the way it is in the frame. I like the stem showing because that gives it an anchor. What I'd be careful is there are a couple spots that are just throwing me off. There's 2 spots on the left, just from the middle of the dahlia. They're sort of pinkish. I don't know what those are. They look like something was cloned out. And it was an unusual clone. And there's 2 more spots up on the upper left-hand side, and 1 green spot along the side on the left bottom. So be careful if you're removing stuff. I don't know if you did or not, but those look a little funky. And even if you didn't remove something, you might want to have taken care of those to make them look a little bit more normal. Now this is Salon. I'll give it a 7, but I will take those into account in the scoring.
Sweet Ride.
Okay, so again, we're looking at an intimate view of the car at the dashboard and the wheel. Yeah, I don't know how you do it differently. I like this view better than the one I had in a couple other contests before. And I like that it seems like the maker toned down the cars in the back. So that's good. They're still there, but this red really pops out now. I might have toned down the chrome in the left hand, bottom left hand, because that's pretty distracting. So I would have watched that a little bit, but I do like seeing into the car the way we are seeing it. And I don't know if there's another angle that would have been better and gotten rid of this, didn't have the chrome interfering with my view like that. But I'll take another look, 7.
Nutcracker.
Well, we actually do see some of the eye, so that's nice. And I got a lot of good feather detail, including in the whites, even in that little tuft of white right under his rump. And so this is a little bit of an action shot and a nice shot and a nice soft background, 7.
Family.
Nice. Okay. To me, this looks like it's a little overexposed, this image. I think we could tone it down a little bit, and maybe you have to do it more selectively. Our young dolphin, I guess. I'm sorry, dolphin's porpoise. I'll get all confused. Is a little bright to me, and I think we could get a little more detail out of the parent and the young if it was just a little less exposed. Also, we have to watch because there is a really bright spot along the side where that like a bubble or so came up. And they are facing away from us. And this is Salon 6.
Fishing in the bay.
Nice story. And in a nice capture, you kept the sky minimal because there was a lot of detail in the lower clouds, but probably not much above it. I got I talked about the one image where I had a silhouette as the centerpiece. This one I can actually see detail in the tree line in the distance, and I like seeing the men's shadows. I mean, not shadows, they're reflections. And so I like that balance, and I like the way it sits in the frame. 7.
Mickey Waterfall.
Well, this is interesting because I would, my first instinct for a waterfall like this would have been to make it vertical. But you used the outflow as part of the picture. And okay, so that actually makes it a different kind of view of the waterfall. I think you held the whites in the water itself. We don't have a whole lot of detail in the water, but I'm okay with silky water. I'm okay with crystal clear water, the way stop action water. But what I'm not so sure about is the balancing of this picture now, because I've got a waterfall and I got a plant in front of the waterfall, heavily setting on the left side, but not anything really balancing them so well on the right, in my opinion. 6. Technically handled well, compositionally challenging for me.
Nature's bouquet.
Okay. I like that all the flowers are nice and sharp. We got a detail in all the purples of petals, and we got good crisp yellow centers. And although it's a somewhat busy background, the photographer muted the background, desaturated it, toned it down so that these flowers pop. 7.
Galaxy Way.
Very nice juxtaposition. Nice capture of the galaxy. And it's fun to have the sign, whether it was added there or was there. Okay. I have no more comments on that. 7.
Orange and yellow dahlia.
Okay, I like this dahlia too. I like that you have the stem included to anchor the dahlia. I might have toned down the background a little bit to make my dahlia pop, but this is a bright dahlia anyway. So it's a lovely image. And I don't see any of those spots like I saw on the other one. I don't know that's the same maker, so maybe that's irrelevant. Okay, 7.
Monarch.
Nice sharp monarch. This the way of taking the monarch in this position means all the monarch, the body and the wings are all in plane. You had enough depth of field there. You had depth of field for the flowers, yet you were able to keep the background, which I assume was pretty far away, nice and soft. So that's all good. I might have toned down the flowers just a little bit on the top. That's probably nitpicking. They're a little bright and they start to detract from the butterfly. But it's a nice placement of the butterfly in the image. 7.
Pretty peafowl.
Hello, peafowl. Okay. I like the sharpness of the peafowl. I guess the peafowl was moving a little bit. Those the top notch, the feathers on top are not sharp, so they probably were vibrating. They tend to do that, I guess. And what I would also do on this image is I would have toned down the background. I just think it really detracts from your bird. Now your bird is very striking, but those yellows are really bright and popping in the back. 6.
Are you my mommy?
Oh gosh. Okay, that's a story. I like the detail on the titmouse, the real one, the one on the right. And the story is funny. I would have toned down the back greenery up in the upper right-hand corner. And this is salon, and that really is detracting from your image. So 6. We saw this. Okay, maybe this is another maker. Okay, I'm going to assume this is another maker because I feel like I saw this before. Again, well capture of the Milky Way itself, and whatever the picture, the sign, whether it's juxtaposed or whether it was there, it's a clever image. 7.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a.
Well, we'll see, or we won't see. I can only judge them the way I see them. Okay, 7, primarily because of those little spots. 8. 8. I'd like to see more of the face. 9. 9. I'll give this a 9. Which means I'll probably give the other one a 9. Okay, 9. 9. And 9. Now we'll find out.
Actually a slightly different image, but it's the same.
Okay, well, they were together,
I've-
people together.
I see.
Okay.
Open salon, honorable mention, Sweet Ride, Lenny McDonald. Nutcracker, Charlene Fredowitz. Equal Merit, Fishing in the Bay, Ellen Stein. Nature's Bouquet, Charlene Fredowitz. Galaxy Way, Arlene Sopenzetti. Orange and Yellow Dahlia, Ellen Stein. Monarch, Arlene Sopenzetti. And Galaxy Way, Arlene Sopenzetti.
Okay.
And that concludes our night for the contest.
No, but I had a fourth picture there, the dolphins, so I don't know why that one came up twice.
Oh, okay. Arlen, was the sign there?
Yes,
Okay.
I illuminated with a red flashlight. It
Okay.
was white lettering.
Oh, okay.
Does anyone online have any questions for our judges?
No, thank you, judges.
If not, great images, everybody, and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.